What you're looking at is a recessed light fixture. I actually have put drywall sections up there, and I'm going to actually add joint compound, spackling, and fill the areas in. For this one right here, all I'm planning to do is to fill in the areas with joint compound, and it's going to take a couple of different tries before I actually get this done, because it'll need to be sanded down and then reapplied, and there may be a couple of days before it all gets finally done. But the end result would be, you would actually see it where you wouldn't even notice the difference between the interfaces that you see now, the square opening. And I've actually put a couple of pieces of drop cloth right underneath where I'm planning to actually do the work. And you'll also notice I have a big container of a joint compound, and I have a little container which is empty. I don't keep the big container open for a long period of time. And as you can see, I have a little I have a spatula that I use to apply the joint compound. And I usually take what I need from the big container, put it in the little container, only as much as I can use. One of the first things we have to do is to apply this mesh tape at the interfaces up there. So you can actually find this in any hardware store. I'm going to try and apply it. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge because I have a textured surface on the ceiling, but we'll try to do it and see how it works. This is my first time actually doing this. I'm going to apply this joint compound to all different areas, the square edges, and then there's a couple of breaks in the drywall sections that I put up. I'm going to put joint compound there too. I have some joint compound, just a few spatulas full of joint compound in this little container. I did have to apply tape more than once, and it appears that the tape is peeling off this textured surface. So I'm going to have to try and apply this joint compound pretty quickly so I don't lose all the tape. Some of the tape did fall down to the ground. And I want to kind of show you what I did. I hope you can see it. I kind of tried to blend in all the areas, try to cover all the tape, joint tape. You can see the Recess Light Fixture in there. As you can see, it's textured surface. It's not very smooth right now. I tried to smooth it as best I could. And hopefully the next time I sand it and reapply more of the joint compound, it'll get a lot better. The other thing we also want to do is, while we're sanding up on the ceiling, we want to avoid all that drywall dust from coming down to the ground. So I'm going to be actually holding a container to catch a lot of that dust. And I picked like a used aluminum foil tray. I think that should catch a lot of the dust that I sand down. That's to prevent it from spreading all over the bedroom where I'm going to be doing most of the sanding. I'll capture most of it. Some of it will come down, but the goal is to capture as much of it in this aluminum tray as I sand. Okay, I'm going to sand up here. Like I said, I'm going to hold the aluminum foil right underneath where I'm sanding. I'm using an 80 grit right here. And you just start slowly. You don't have to do it gently. It looks like I'm going to have to switch to the 50 grit because this might not be taking out enough material like I thought. So this is after my first round of sanding. There are a lot of dips and craters in the surface, which I'll have to fill with spackling compound, so I'm going to apply a second round of spackle compound. But before I do that, the first thing you got to do is take a damp cloth, wipe off all the dust all around it, let it dry for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then you can apply the compound. But it's very important to actually use a wet cloth, wipe off all the dust that you sanded that's still remaining on the surface, and let it dry before you apply the spackle, or you would be applying the spackle right on top of the dust. I'm going to continue. I noticed some holes right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes that I missed last time. I'm going to have to fill those in. Make sure you mix the joint compound well enough before you apply it. You have to seal everything. You have to isolate the light area from the sealing space. So you have to make sure it's completely sealed off. And then we'll have to let it dry probably for a day. I have this is probably my third time I'm doing the sanding. I have an 80 grit sandpaper I'm using to sand this. Then run my hands over it to see if it's smoothed out. It's just like a piece of sculpture, you know, you run your hands over it. Does it feel smooth to your hands? If not, you would have to sand it again. You could even go finer in this. I have 100 grit here. You could do 150, you could do a 220. You could go even finer, it'll get a much smoother surface. But I think for the ceiling I have here, 100, the 100 should be fine once I get this smooth enough. You want to make it as smooth as you can make it, and you don't want you want a good transition going from the drywall around the fixture to the original ceiling. That's what you want. After I'm done sanding this whole area, I take a wet rag and I kind of clean all around this. I don't want any dust sitting on here because I want it all taken off with the wet rag. You know, I wash it a few times, bring it and kind of soak it and touch all the areas where I sanded, pulling all the dust off. That's what I do. And then you can wash the rag, you can reuse it, but make sure you wash it. I just wanted to show how much dust I've collected actually in here. You can kind of see, it's kind of easy to see all the drywall dust I collected. Now, of course, if you look down here, I do have cloth all over the floor. I have some other stuff covered by cloth too. I'm going to apply the caulking that I need to apply. And I'll not only wipe this off, I'll also wipe off the rest. I have a little, you can see a little container of water. I'm going to wipe off the rest of the area here. You want all that dust taken off. So I think this area is ready for priming and painting. Once I clean this, so you can kind of see what it looks like right now. I'm kind of zooming into certain areas. It's the best I could do. Once this dries, I'll be ready to apply the primer and paint. And I'll have to apply the primer, wait probably like 24 hours or maybe 12 hours and then apply the paint. I'm not going to put the lighting fixture back in till it's completely painted and done. So that way I don't have to remove it again for painting. So I also want to talk about this area. I had primed it before and I haven't gotten around to putting the paint on it. After I primed it, I noticed some areas on the surface that needed some additional spackling, which I did. So I'm going to sand it one more time with a finer grit, probably 100. Start with a 100 grit paper and then maybe move up to a 150 or 200 and then smooth it out really good and then reapply the primer and then paint it